Okay, today's rainbow girl that we are going to talk about is Stolen Potential. This is my set of paintings that I did that I always say was uncultured, my story before I found the words to say it. So she's called Stolen Potential. She's called Who Am I? She's called Whoever the F I Want. And she is called Healed. So with this one, this is an actual outline of my child when she was roughly 2. And this was when I started doing this project. You know, I'm not the greatest line drawing artist, so I, traced a rough outline of her. And, she always sees it and says, oh, that's about me. But, when I was actually looking at this child that I created, obviously there's a lot of sadness in this photo, which I like to believe is not actually that present in my actual child. It was around this age and potentially doing this work that led me to realize, like, oh, I really need to deconstruct my stuff and heal. Otherwise, I'm going to pass down a lot of generational trauma to my beautiful, amazing, perfect child. And I did the deconstruction, and it was a lot of work and very, very hard. One of the things my mom and I will talk about is the lot, like not just all the struggle and trauma that we have to deal with, but the lost potential of what we could have been. My mom thinks she would have been a surgeon. I think I would have been a real scientist, not a soft scientist. You'll never know. I'll never know what could have happened. And it's part of what is sad about raising a child and giving them a completely different life is this experience of being what I call first generation parents and having no models to emulate and just, I'll be sitting in the front row at the school play for Arbor Day and just trying not to just bawl my eyes out because it's so normal and beautiful, and she's getting to just have a childhood and be developed and not have to work, which is what children in cults have to do because cults are always about labor, not have to try to force herself to be something colorless and bland, even though I do have a bland beige child. But just children being allowed to be themselves, which is of course not what you get when you're growing up in a cult. You don't get a childhood. And one of the realizations that I had as I was writing Uncultured was, oh, I never got to develop a personal identity, because that's what happens when you're growing up in a high control group. Adults join high control groups and they have to suppress their personal identity, but hopefully they got to build one. We never got to build it. And that was, I realized consciously, I was like, oh, so I got to go figure out who I am. Okay. Which is, usually what children are doing from the ages of 1 to 6, and then again in their adolescent years. That's also why toddlers and teenagers are the most narcissistic people usually ever are. That's why nobody likes them except other toddlers and other teenagers. But you're supposed to be, right? It's developmentally appropriate to be completely self-absorbed at this age. It is not developmentally appropriate to look this sad. I couldn't even handle the eyes showing because it's those dead cult baby eyes that are always black, even though my eyes are hazel and nobody notices. So that's just a lot of the feelings that I have. I think that millennials, actually, one of the things we are contributing to this world, and of course Gen X along with us, is stopping generational trauma. Like, we are ending generational trauma with our bodies and our minds and our souls. And that's why we drink wine. But, nobody has ever hit my child. If you're interested, you can get copies of Stolen Potential attached here, or all 4 Rainbow Girls in the shop.